Hey everyone, welcome back to Miniature Painting 101, a series of videos where we teach you all about painting miniatures from start to finish and everything in between, including Orky Teef. And this is part 137, Large Orky Teef, how to paint Orky Teef on such things as killicans, def dreads, or models with large teeth. So today we'll be painting this killican's teeth in a standard, the same way that the GW paints the def dreads and killicans that was asked for by you. So we'll start off with Baneblade Brown. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to work our way up in a pyramid fashion, darkest at the bottom to lightest at the top. But throughout it we'll be doing these streaks of color, these lines of color throughout the teeth. So we'll start off with a nice base coat of Baneblade Brown. I primed it black, you can prime them gray if you want. I wouldn't do it over a white, I'd prefer a darker priming personally for this particular instance. So as you can see, I thinned down some Lamium Medium. I thinned all my GW paints with Lamium Medium today, so they're all nice and thin, easy to work with, and they don't clump up. Since we're doing a lot of layers, you don't want them to go on clumpy. You want them nice and thin so they blend well together. So now I'll take some Ushabti Bone and make a 1-to-1 mix of Ushabti Bone and Baneblade Brown, and paint about the top 2/3 of the teeth with this combination. So that way the bottom third, or about the bottom 1/3, about 40% of it is going to be the Baneblade Brown, and the rest will be this new color combination. As you see, I'm just working my way upwards. Quickly, it will dry a little bit darker and a little more blended in because it is thinned down with some medium. And there we go. That's all nice. This is not a very long process. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our nice detailed brush, and I'm going to paint some very, very thin lines up the tooth, from the very base of the tooth up the tooth. And this will be done with just Ushabti Bone by itself, pure Ushabti Bone. So what we're going to do is we're essentially going to create these layers of color going upwards, and then we're going to create these streaks, these lines of color that are going to always be slightly lighter than the surface upwards as well. And we're going to continue them with a lighter color after this as well. So as you can see, I'm just doing very nice thin lines up and space them evenly up the tooth. I'll repeat this with the other tooth as well. And what it does, it just creates a bit of texture to these teeth and gives that kind of dirty bone appearance. So I reload my brush. And as you see, just nice thin lines, as thin as possible, up towards the tooth, the top of the tooth. Even spacing, and keep repeating this process. And when that was done, I then took some Screaming Skull and added it to the Ushabti Bone. So now it's a 1-to-1 mix of Ushabti Bone and Screaming Skull. And then I just painted the top, I painted about the top, about third of the tooth with this combination, all the way around. And what we'll do is it'll go over the previous lines that we did with the Ushabti Bone. Since this is lighter, it'll mask it. So then what we're going to do is then afterwards we're going to recreate those lines that we did, continue them upwards with an even lighter color. So as you see now, the top about a third is now this 1-to-1 mix of Ushabti Bone and Screaming Skull. And that was completely done. Then I repeat this process once again with Screaming Skull. And all I did was I used the beginnings of those lines that we did, and I continued them upwards. So as you can see, I'm just finding them again and going my way upwards. So if you look carefully, you'll see that indentation of light color of those lines, and that way it brings them back to life, because now it'll be even lighter color. So that's cool. We're just creating these areas and then continuing the lines. So you can see here, we're just continuing up those lines, and then we're going to do one more tiny part of this with just the very tips of them with an even lighter color. And then finally we're going to take some Screaming Skull and White Scar, 1-to-1 mix, and do just the very tips of the teeth with this combination. So that we essentially have 4 layers of color, and with the lines going upwards as well for a bit of contrast and texture. You know, it just creates a little bit of an interesting appearance with them. So you see just the very tops of them will be this combination. And so, of course, as I said, all these paints are thinned down with some Lamium medium. And that's it. And here's what the teeth look like when they're done. As you can clearly see those lines of color going upwards with a bit of texture and the gradient of color. And they look very orky and a little bit dirty and grungy, and they have a bit of texture to them, and that's nice. So as always, a huge thank you for watching this episode of Miniature Painting 101. I really hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for next week's episode, part 138, which is just around the corner. Leave comments in the comment section down below of what you want to see in future videos of Miniature Painting 101. I'll do my best to make sure every suggestion happens over time. So a huge thank you once again. Until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting, everyone.